Welcome to Honeybee Watch Symposia series. This is the first public online event that we've done, and I can tell already that it's going to be a great success because 135 of you have signed up, and we have already 70 people who have signed in. I'm Steve Rogenstein. I'm your host, the behind-the-scenes producer, and also the project director of Honeybee Watch. And I'm joined here today by Rigo Moro, who is our science director. And today we're going to introduce you to Honeybee Watch, give a brief introduction, and then we're going to hear from 4 honeybee research pioneers. So today we're going to tackle protocols, specifically monitoring. And it's especially important when you're dealing with free living nests. So imagine that you know where bees are living in a tree or in the side of your building or in a chimney. You have registered for Honeybee Watch, you've entered them in the site, you've uploaded photos, you've answered our preliminary questions, we validated it, published it, and then what? Up until now, not much has happened. However, we hope that that's going to change very soon. As we'll hear from our guests, this next stage after locating hives and colonies is to monitor them, to physically visit them and record certain data points. There are basic questions such as, is the nest still, is it active? Do you see pollen going in? Can you visit it at least 3 times a year? And beyond that, there are countless other data points, all of which are worthy of attention and some of which we'll discuss today. But when you're managing a citizen science research project, you have to balance between what you desire as a researcher and what's realistic to actually get and demand of or request of the people who are participating. So there's that fine balance, and it can be tricky. So I could go on and on and on, but we're really here to hear from our guests. So we have guests from Serbia, Ireland, the UK, and the US. Each of them will get 10 minutes, which is not a lot of time, to talk about their projects and to talk about monitoring. And now I'm going to introduce our guests. I'm not going to read Jovana's bio or anyone else's because it's on our website. However, what I'm going to do is contextualize their research in case you're not already familiar with it. Jovana Bila Dubaić. Yeah, I knew.
It's good enough.
I knew I would butcher it. Sorry.
No.
She's been researching free living colonies in Belgrade, the capital of Serbia. And for about 5 years, they've been uncovering hundreds of colonies that are living in structures. And we're going to hear about that. So Jovana, I'm going to start your 10 minutes. Are you ready?
Yes, let me just share my presentation.
Great.
Can you see my presentation? Hear me well?
Yes.
Okay.
Start.
Hello to everyone. I'm really glad to see so many people here. I'm going to talk about my experience, and you will see there's still many unanswered questions. And but we are on a good way by talking to other people that do the similar work in other countries to just figure out how to do it in different environments. In my case, it's actually probably quite unique since I only discovered free living honeybees in urban environment. And my protocol that we developed is actually based on these surroundings. I have no experience tracking or monitoring bees in their natural habitat, which is woods. I just want to briefly tell you how this all started in Belgrade in Serbia. I actually do not study honeybees in original, well, let's say choice of career. I study wild, mostly solitary bee species. And I have to admit that I was so wrong before when I thought that, honeybees are just this managed species, and me as a biologist, probably, agriculture people or forestry people should work with honeybees. But I was so wrong. They're not just, first of all, they're not managed species to begin with, right? So they are native to Europe, and they have their space as a wild species. But what was interesting, we had no idea what is the situation in Belgrade, where I live, where my research group works, and like we are on the field work all the time in the center of Belgrade, in parks and stuff, and we never noticed this. So how we came to this knowledge about so many free-living honeybees in Belgrade? Well, thanks to one beekeeper who was receiving phone calls from concerned citizens that had colonies in their surroundings, in their homes, windows, gardens, and etc. So he started to note this down, note every location. Is it a swarm? Is it a colony? And he did this for years without telling anyone. He went out to the field and helped some people if he had time, but it's really time consuming and he couldn't do it all. And then when he shared this with us, we were really surprised, because even like honeybees were not my focus of research. I read here and there that they're in huge problem of colony collapse disorder, these pathogens, and so many problems like beekeeping from this, let's say, hobby became to be this time-consuming, really unpredictable job. So we were really surprised. How come on one side you have this situation where beekeepers struggle, and then on the other side, this beekeeper claims that Belgrade, which is the capital of a country, really urban area, there are hundreds of colonies. So we decided to dig some more, and I started, first of all, to just georeference it, to call all these people, to check what's the situation, to go on field work, and it took a lot of time. So at the end, this was, well, let's say the result. Don't be surprised with so many dots. This is not like current situation. This is, as you can see, for 7 years compiled data. Yellow dots are colonies, red are swarms, and green ones are something we could not determine, but they are honeybees for sure, because we did not, on this map, there was also a lot of wasps report and stuff, so this is only honeybees. And it was really interesting just going on field work, checking them all, talking to people. It was really time consuming, but really fulfilling. So what do we do when we say we monitor these bees? First of all, we want to know the location. We want to note what kind of cavity, like micro location. Is it in a facade, in a wall, in a wooden shatter box? Is it in a tree, in a park? So where is it? How high above the ground is the entrance? What is the size of the entrance? So all this, information you can come and just look and note down. We also want to regularly come and check is there activity. This is really important. And like I really, for me, this is probably really easy compared to others who monitor free-living honeybees in woods, because I have a lot of help from citizens, a lot of people that have honeybee colony in their yard next to their window and are willing to help me. We just talk every 2 weeks or exchange messages. They send me photos. What is your colony doing? Is it active? What's going on? And that's it. My monitoring is done while I'm sitting in front of a computer. So I guess this is not doable for other situations. So this is like just basic what we do from March to November, of course, depending on what, like sometimes we start even in February, depending on the temperatures of the spring. And of course, November is also sometimes December. So every 2 weeks, we go on a site and note down what are the weather conditions? Is there activity around the entrance of the colony? We count the bees around the entrance per minute. So we call this activity density, just to say, is there like 2 or 3 bees, 5, more than 5, 10, what's going on? We also note down different things we can also see. Sometimes we cannot see, sometimes they're really high. We cannot see if there is pollen on their hind legs, which I know is really important because this is the sign that there is brood inside, and it's not just another situation where a colony can die off and other honeybees, other worker bees can come to rob off what's inside. And we, from the ground, we can interpret that as an activity. So noting pollen on legs, it's really important, but for my situation, it's not always possible. We also look at the surroundings. Are there a lot of dead bees on the ground? We sometimes notice deformed wings on bees. We also note that, etc. And one big part of our monitoring, it's not just collecting data. A lot of time goes to communicating with these people, with citizens, which this part is really amazing for me. I really enjoy explaining to people what's going on, why this is important, chatting with them on all, not just honeybees. And I think this is really, really important part, because this way you get like collaborators and you give back, not just take the information. So this is just, I'm not going to talk about this spreadsheet. It's just all the columns we fill every time we go and check the site. And these are my really hardworking helpers, the students of biology faculty where I work. Without them, I wouldn't be able to go every 2 weeks to visit all the sites. It would not be possible. So they sometimes go in pairs, sometimes alone. They fill the spreadsheet, and it's really, this is the only reason I can do this.
Jovana, you have 1 minute.
1 minute, yes. So like just, I'm at the end. This protocol I developed should probably there are places to improve it, but I believe for urban environments it's probably complete. I think I cannot add anything for another urban environment. I would suggest not just to go out there and take information, also try to motivate students, build community, talk to people. What I would say are the drawbacks of my monitoring is, first of all, there's no way to measure pathogen parasite load. We cannot know what's inside. We can only say, is it alive or not? Second, and I also already mentioned this, there is no way to observe presence of pollen, even with binoculars on some locations. And I would really like to know the volume of the cavities I monitor. I cannot do it. And also I cannot know if the colony is formed or not, only if I'm lucky enough to come on a day when swarming happens. So these are like the obstacles and drawbacks of the situation of monitoring in Belgrade. Thank you. I hope I did not exceed my 10 minutes.
You did so well. Thank you for setting the precedent. So thank you for sharing that.